The alien champion laughed at the human opponent until his first strike shattered her confidence. The beginning, the arena of stars. The grand arena of Karath was unlike anything I had ever seen. It wasn't merely a stadium. It was a colossus built into the side of a moon, its tiers of stone and steel spiraling upward like a crown of giants. Millions filled the seats, their cheers rising like thunder, echoing through the void. Above us, a transparent dome revealed the stars themselves, turning every duel into a spectacle beneath the cosmos. The Karate were a warrior race, their lives defined by combat and honor. For centuries, their tournaments had been the proving ground of champions. No outsider had ever been allowed to compete until humanity stumbled into their space. Our fledgling alliance with the Accord had brought new cultures together, but it had also birthed suspicion. Were humans truly strong enough to stand among the great powers? That was why I, Captain Daniel Reeve, stood here now. Not because I had sought glory, but because humanity needed someone to step forward. I was no gladiator by trade. I was a soldier, hardened by battles on fringe worlds. But when the Karate demanded a challenger, someone had to answer. And across from me, in the center of the arena, stood my opponent. Her name was Vera Zorin, champion of the Karate, undefeated in 50 duels. She towered over me, her frame carved from muscle and speed, her crimson skin shimmering under the light. She wielded a massive double-edged glaive, its blade humming with energy. Around her, the crowd chanted her name, a tidal wave of sound that rattled the bones. When her eyes met mine, she smirked, a predator sizing up prey. A human, she laughed, her voice carrying through the arena's amplifiers. "This is your champion? I will end this before the first breath is drawn." The crowd roared with laughter, echoing her scorn. I tightened my grip on the plasma-forged sword at my side. My pulse hammered, but my focus sharpened. Let them laugh. They didn't know what humanity was capable of. The middle, clash of worlds. The gong thundered, and the duel began. Vera lunged forward like a storm unleashed. Her glaive cut through the air with terrifying force, the energy field sparking as it nearly cleaved the ground in two. The sheer strength behind her strike could have split a tank in half. But I had not survived countless battlefields by standing still. I rolled aside, feeling the wind of her strike graze my back. My boots skidded across the arena floor as I came up in a crouch, sword ready. The crowd jeered, mocking my evasion. "Run, little human," they shouted. Vera grinned, her fangs gleaming. "Do you see? He is nothing. I will end him quickly." She swung again, and again I slipped aside, her weapon gouging scars into the arena's surface. But then, when her arrogance swelled, I struck. I surged forward, faster than she expected, and my blade cracked against her armored shoulder. The impact rang like thunder, sparks flying. Vera staggered half a step, more from surprise than pain. The crowd gasped. Her eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face. Then her grin faded. "You dare?" she growled. And then the real fight began. She came at me with fury, her glaive spinning in arcs too fast for the eye to follow. But fury breeds recklessness. I read her patterns, slipping through her strikes with precise movements honed from years of guerrilla combat. Where she relied on brute force and spectacle, I relied on discipline, speed, and timing. Another strike. Another opening. My blade slashed across her side, searing through the outer layer of her armor. She hissed in pain, stumbling back. The crowd fell into stunned silence. "You," she breathed, clutching her wound. "You should not be able to touch me." I leveled my sword. "You fought warriors who wanted glory. I fight to survive. That's the difference." The turning point. What followed was a battle that shook the arena. Sparks flew as our weapons clashed, the screech of steel and plasma filling the air. She pressed me with power, I countered with precision. Sweat stung my eyes, my arms burned with strain, but I refused to falter. With each strike, I saw her confidence crack. The arrogance in her gaze gave way to frustration, then grudging respect. She was learning, too late, that humanity was not as weak as she believed. Finally, it came to a single moment. She lunged with all her strength, her glaive descending in a killing arc. I sidestepped at the last instant, driving my sword upward in a strike that shattered her weapon shaft. The blade of her glaive clattered to the ground, useless. The crowd erupted, gasps, shouts, disbelief. Vera staggered back, weaponless, staring at the ruin of her glaive. For the first time in her career, she stood disarmed. Slowly, I raised my sword to her throat. The arena held its breath. And then, instead of striking, I lowered my blade. "It's over," I said quietly. "Yield." The ending, respect earned. The silence stretched, heavy as stone. Vera's chest heaved as she stared at me, her pride and fury warring with the truth. At last, she dropped to one knee, bowing her head. "I yield," she said, voice shaking with something I hadn't expected, respect. The crowd erupted, their jeers transforming into thunderous applause. Not for her, not even for me, but for the battle itself. The first human to stand in their arena had proven himself not just worthy, but formidable. Later, in the quiet of the Champions' Hall, Vera approached me. Her wound had been treated, but her pride was still raw. She studied me in silence, then finally spoke. "You fight differently. Not with arrogance, not for glory. You fight as though every strike matters." "Because it does," I said. She gave a slow nod. "I laughed at you. I thought you were nothing. But you taught me humility." Her lips curled into the faintest of smiles. "Perhaps there is strength in your kind after all." From that day forward, the karate no longer mocked humanity. They called us the survivors, warriors who endured where others might fall. And Vera herself, once my fiercest opponent, became one of our strongest allies. As I left the arena, I glanced back one last time, the place where it all began. The memory of the crowd's roar, of the first strike that shattered her certainty, would stay with me forever. For in that moment, humanity had carved its place among the stars.